Hello, everybody!
Turn this up in my headphones, Charles.
Turning it up. Hello, everybody, one and all. Welcome back to yet another very exciting episode of the Friends Talking Fantasy Podcast. My name is Charles, and with me today is my lifelong friend and co-host, Dylan.
I'm ready to talk some fantasy with my friend Charles.
I'm ready to talk some fantasy with my friend as well, Dylan, but not just any fantasy today, because today we are dusting off an old series that it's been a while since we've talked about, and that would be, of course, Wheel of Time. We are in the process of reading the Wheel of Time series. We will get to that next book eventually, but until then, we figured we may as well have some fun in the Wheel of Time world because it's so much fun in there. There's so much fun to be had amongst Wheel of Time fans and the memes that have come from it and in the Twitter sphere and things like that, and we just wanted to be a part of it today because we don't have a book ready, so we're just going to jump into the universe and have a little fun today.
Let's jump into that universe, Charles. I'm really excited to start, talking Wheel of Time again. It has been too long, and I'm looking forward to engaging with the community. So, what do we have today? How are we going to be jumping into this?
Well, as people may have been able to guess from the title, we are taking a Wheel of Time personality test today. We're each going to take it, and we're each going to figure out which Wheel of Time character are we. We've already each taken this once already. We'll see. We're going to test the merit of the survey. I feel like this is the definitive Wheel of Time character survey. It asks all the right questions, and it gets to the heart of it. So we're going to take turns taking this quiz. We're going to go over the questions and answers together and see what the results are. And we will put the link in the description for this quiz so you guys can take it along at home and let us know what your results are at the FTF Podcast with the number 1 at the end on Twitter. But put your guesses in now on who you think Dylan will come up as and you think I will come up as. We already kind of know because we took this quiz already, so we're not going to spoil it. Right?
I mean,
if you want to go for it. I don't know.
I haven't taken it in a really long time. So this quiz is San found this. You remember Sandra Gibbons, who's
booktuber extraordinaire. How could I forget?
Yeah, Sandra Gibbons found this, and she says that I got Matt on it. In my memory, I kind of got Egwene, but I can't remember. So for me, it was a long time ago, and I really don't know what I'm going to get.
Yeah, what I like about this quiz is it has your result, but then it has the characters that you also kind of align with. Like, it's like, oh, you 40% identified as this character, you 20% identified as this one. It's got 7 characters in a list. So that will kind of help us more understand your personality, Dylan, and where you would fall in the Wheel of Time universe. So let's clear this up today. Are you a Matt or an Elaine? That will only the quiz can tell.
I think I got Egwene.
Egwene.
Where I feel like, I've always said I feel like I'm a Matt deep down who is trying really hard to be like Elaine, like a good communicator and things like that, a good mediator. And deep down, I'm just a rascal like Matt. So, and you've said that resonates with how you see me, right?
Yeah, I think a Matt that thinks he's an Egwene is a good personality. Elaine. Are we Egwene or Elaine? You've been switching the two. I'm saying I
think I got Egwene when I took this quiz. Oh, you got
Egwene.
San said that I got that I got Matt.
Even better.
And I feel like in my day-to-day life, I'm Matt trying to be Elaine.
I see.
And so there's 3 characters in the mix there.
Yes. Well, the quiz will put it all to rest because this will be your definitive results. There's no going back from it, and I'm excited. Shall we just do you first then? and go through the questions and
Let's
see what
do
we
it.
generate today. So let's see. The first question. I think we'll just read the question because to read all the things, we'll be here for forever. You see a woman hanging by her fingertips from a tall building. Do you, I'll go through them all. A, forgetting any danger you yourself might be in, run to her rescue. B, calmly and slowly make your way to the top, then consider all options before deciding what to do. C, call someone else to come rescue her. Then, once she's rescued, pat her cheek and tell her how lucky she is you were there. D, refuse to help her, saying she deserves it if she was fool enough to climb up there in the first place. And E, try to pretend you don't see her, then finally admit you do. After rescuing her, you suggest that maybe you should go out to dinner sometime. Which one for you, Dylan?
I mean, I feel like I would forget any danger I myself might be in and run to her rescue.
I was going to say,
rescue.
You wouldn't just
You
let
feel
someone
that's...
hang from a cliff.
Yeah.
You know? This is the only option that I think you would actually do. I mean, refusing to help her and saying she was foolish.
Cheek.
Yeah, patting on the cheek.
I think there's a little bit of a part of me that would I would do it in a more subtle way. I wouldn't pat someone on the cheek and say, you're lucky I was there. But I think I would in my head be kind of oh, no, I just saw you in danger and I had to come help. And I would say things that kind of get at the idea of oh yeah, you should be happy I was here. But I don't think that I would pat someone on the cheek to do it. But the essence of that might be kind of where I'm at. Mm-hmm. But I think the most straightforward answer for me is just look, I just run in and rescue the person. I wouldn't be focused on making them,
You know what? I'm realizing we should just be taking this quiz at the same time, so I don't have to go back and read these again. So I just opened up a second tab for myself. And I think I don't think I'd be any good at it. I think if there's an option that's you try to help and then you'd both end up falling down because you don't have any upper body strength, I'd probably choose that one.
Can I pick the one for you that I think, and you can pick whatever you want, but I think you would calmly and slowly make your way to the top, then consider all options before deciding what to do.
Look, I think
dude, I've climbed Mount Doom with you. I've climbed Mount Doom, and this is exactly how you treated it.
Look,
I know you think of yourself a certain way.
No. Let me explain myself for a second. There's an element to this that would normally I think B is the right choice, but in this case they're hanging by their fingertips. It's an emergency situation, and I'd like to think that in an emergency I wouldn't be calmly and slowly doing anything. And I'd be a man of action. Okay. And I certainly wouldn't let them just dangle there while I'm thinking about it. If they were in a less immediate emergency situation, then I would maybe think about it. If she was tied to the train tracks and you could hear the train coming from far away, I'd be okay, how are we going to do this? I'd calmly and slowly figure it out. But if she's hanging by her fingertips, dude, you got to intervene right away. You do your best anyway. This question assumes I would rescue the person, but I don't know. I would try. So we are both identical for question 1. Let's go into question 2. Okay, here's the situation. You are walking along the street when a man in rags comes up to you begging for money. Do you A, toss him a few coins, then forget about him? B, grab the nearest thing to a weapon you have and tell him to back off? C, immediately give him a large wad of cash, firmly telling him to spend it on some good clothes? D, give him some money, then take him with you to the nearest homeless shelter and get him settled in there? E, toss him a coin, then ask him if he wants to gamble for more? And then F, tell him that's his problem, not yours, and walk away. Where are we at with question 2?
I mean, when I see this,
I think I know what
Tell
you say.
me what you think I'd do.
So I think you'd give him money, right? So that's A and C. You'd either toss coins and forget about him, give him a large wad of cash. And then just give him money, then take him with you to the nearest homeless shelter and get him settled there. So it's one of those 3 options. or ask him if he wants to gamble for more. I think you would do A. I think you'd toss him some coins and then go on about your life. That's what I would say.
Yeah, so I have had moments where I've like usually what I actually do in situations like this is try to like help the person buy a sandwich if that's what they want or something like that. Which I don't go so far as like I'd love to be a person who gives money and then takes the person to a homeless shelter.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that is like you
that's
can't
like
do that for every
the
person that
saint
you
answer,
walk.
yeah.
We grew up
I've
in
never taken a homeless man to a shelter before, so I can't. Yeah.
I've bought sandwiches. I've even like sat down with them and talked to them when like folks are dealing with homelessness and they look like they need someone to talk to and like gotten lunch, like those kind of things. So I feel like then forget about him feels kind of stronger than I want to say, or like more callous than I want to say for me.
Yeah.
But literally taking the person to a homeless shelter is more than I've ever done.
Okay.
So I don't know. I feel somewhere in between there. But if you're saying the forget about him is more of the, and honestly, we lived in New York City.
Yeah.
I mean, not lived in. We lived in New York, and we spend time in New York City. You and I, and like, you cannot take every single person dealing with homelessness to a homeless shelter. Going there, there's no time.
Yeah.
So this is my Dylan tries to justify as a good person while being able to choose.
I think A is a nice thing.
Callous.
It's callously written, but I think it's the idea of like, look, you give him some coins, you help him out because he asked, and then you move on. You know, you're not like up at night worried about that person. It's like a not reasonable thing to say. So it sounds callous, but I think this is a very noble answer, and I think that's what you do. So what would you say for me in this scenario? Because I have I'm locked in on an answer, but I wonder what you think of me.
I feel like I don't know. I feel like in a less callous way, you'd kind of be like, "That's his problem," and walk away.
Yeah, that's the one I was gonna pick.
Yes,
it's like, not as callous as I would want it to be, but when I think about it. Honestly, anytime I'm there, I normally don't have coins on me, so I'm not giving anyone money usually. And I don't know, I like to volunteer my time more than my money anyway. So yeah, I would just do the last one. Not to say that I'm like, not my problem, man.
You wouldn't say that's your problem.
Yeah, I would just be like,
but
oh no, man, sorry.
Action.
And I'd keep going, you know?
Yes.
Like, make the honest connection, but then be like, dude, I don't have any money, sorry, you know.
I agree.
But I will reinterpret that into that last answer there. It's, again,
well,
it's
we
callous,
both feel like
but
it's a little harsh.
Yeah. It's trying to settle. Look, in the Wheel of Time, there's all these extremes, right? It's a very dramatic piece of fiction, of epic fantasy. So you got to add a little pizzazz to it.
I think the Matt answer is clearly the gambling, which is like,
obviously,
you know, So, and Charles, you know, like, we've we've done that before, but gambled, but we're not like people who struggle to need to gamble with people who are dealing with homelessness or like have issues with gambling in our lives. Right. So I feel like it's not fair. Like, I feel like I'm supposed to pick the like gamble one to be like Matt, but it's not me.
Yeah, that's obviously a very loaded answer. That's like very Matt leaning. If it was like toss a coin, then pull your braids, you know what kind of character you're dealing with.
Naive, yeah.
So let's move on to the next question here. This scenario: a man tries to steal your wallet. Ooh, this is intense. What do you do? A. Pull a knife on him. No one pulls a fast one on you. B. Calmly grab a firm hold of him and take him to the police. C. Call to the person nearest to you. Say, "Stop him! He's a thief." Once the thief is caught, you calmly take charge and call the police. D, you launch yourself at him, grab him, then begin to lecture about the wrongs of stealing. And then... Oh, God. I can think of some Wheel of Time characters that would do that.
Yes.
They'd probably pull their braid afterward, right?
Yes, they'd be pulling braids.
Exactly.
Their skirts might need to be smoothed after the whole event.
Oh, yes, certainly. Certainly. And then the last option here, grab him, take the wallet back, then let the thief go. You don't want to get caught up in that sort of thing. Dylan, what answer would you give for yourself for question 3 here? It's trying to steal your wallet.
Yeah.
This is an intense situation.
So, right. I feel like I lean toward the grab him, take the wallet back, then let the thief go. You don't want to get caught up in that sort of thing. Like, that feels like me is like, I'm not out there to try to, like, now have this person face justice. Like, I'm just kind of like, okay, like, don't take my wallet from me. I need that. And then I see, like, I do have enough faith in humanity where I'm like, if this person's resorting to stealing, they probably do really need it and they have like a harder, more messed up life than me. And that is like, that's a crappy thing, but that doesn't mean they get to have my wallet. And it also doesn't mean that I need to make their life worse by calling the police or something. That's kind of my mentality on it.
Yeah,
So I think
I
I
feel
would
like a lot of this quiz
grab
is
him, take the
justifying
wallet
that
back,
we're
then let the
not
thief go.
bad people. It's like we're forced to choose
Well,
one of these, but this doesn't make us like. So
I guess, yeah.
So where does that lean you now? You were about to give your answer.
I'm grab him, take the wallet back, then let the thief go. You don't want to get caught up in that sort of thing.
I was thinking of that for myself as well because it's like you said, to actually get the police involved is probably not the amount of trouble I'd be willing to get into, and I'm certainly not about to pull a knife on someone. I've never resorted to violence in my whole life, so
that is not very Charles.
Think of myself as that kind of guy either.
You wouldn't want to lecture about the wrongs of stealing, Charles?
No, I don't have the need to lecture to anybody, so too indifferent for that. So I would also take the wallet back and let the thief go, assuming I could actually pull that off. But that's what I would do because I don't want to get caught up in that sort of thing. I think that's the most resonating sentence in that whole question. So gotta pick that one.
Yeah.
So we are the same for that question as well. Very interesting. Okay, next question. You are shopping in a clothing store when a complete stranger asks you how a dress looks on them. Do you A, reply honestly, lying is dishonorable? B, look at the dress a few times, consider it, then carefully explain so as not to hurt their feelings that it looks terrible? Oh, this was so close to being your thing. C, kindly tell them it is the worst dress you've ever seen. D, explain to them all the pros and cons of the dress, then tell her you hope that helped her make a decision. Oh, that's you. And then the last one, tell her she looks beautiful, even if she doesn't.
I feel like, I don't know, like 3 of them feel like they could be me.
Yes,
Just
the
like,
ones where it's like, look, talk it through, make sure they understand, and then wish them the best. You know, that's kind of what I feel like where you're at.
I think I might do the one that you said was almost me. Like, look at the dress a few times, consider, then carefully explain so as not to hurt their feelings. Is this assuming it does look terrible?
I would, judging by all the answers, I would assume yes. Because it's like, ask you how a dress looks on them, and it looks bad. Because all these questions are like, she obviously doesn't look good in it. What are you going to do? So I would assume that, the dress looks bad.
I think I would explain the pros and cons to someone who's not a stranger. Like if it was like someone I was with that was a friend. If I was with a friend, I would be like, okay, let's walk through this. Like, here's what I see as the pros. Here's what I see as the cons, that kind of thing. But I think with a stranger, I'm like, that's not my place. And I would be like, okay, you asked for how it looks. I'll tell you like, hey, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but I don't think it looks good.
Got it. So you're locked in a B, and I'm happy with that choice for you. Yeah, I would feel like if it was not decided how the dress looked, I don't think you just tell someone that it looks terrible, you know? I do think you would, but I do think you'd give a long, honest opinion, considerate of their feelings and all these other things. Yes. I think you would do that.
This so as to not hurt their feelings part feels very me.
Yes,
like, I'm very like, okay, like I want to be honest, but how do I not hurt feelings?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Now, what would you say for me on this one?
I feel like you would be down to tell someone it looks beautiful even if it doesn't.
Oh, interesting.
I feel like with a stranger, you'd be like, I just need to get this person kind of
Yes, I
out of here.
agree. I agree, but I was leaning more towards the first one of just being
I
like
could see
whatever
that
the
too.
honest thing is. But I could also lie too because that's the more important factor is like I don't want to talk to this person. Like I want this
Yes, that's exactly what I
conversation
was
to
thinking.
end. So
Yeah.
maybe, I can see why you would go with the last one, but I feel like the first one is the same result on the opposite side of the coin, and that it's like, are you telling the truth or are you telling a white lie? Which would you go towards first? And I feel
Here's
like,
what I think,
yeah,
Charles.
go
If you
for it.
thought it was terrible, you'd know if you said, hey, like, that's terrible. Just that's your honest opinion, that you're gonna have a worse situation come from that for you, how you see
yeah,
it,
but
than
I
if you
feel
just
like
say,
if
like,
it
oh, it
was
looks beautiful.
genuinely, absolutely horrible,
A
I'd be
complete
like,
stranger.
no, bro. I do
You'd say,
remember one
bro?
time I was, well, if it was a dude, if it was a bro anyway, I would say. I remember one time I was at a department store and this dude was wearing a trench coat and it made him look like a flasher. Like, it's just not a good look. I was like,
Oof.
dude, no, not for you, bro. So I
You
have
said
done
that
this
to
in
a
real life.
stranger?
Yes, I did.
Okay, maybe you
It was
are
just
reply
a bad
honestly lying
look.
is dishonorable.
So I do want to
Yeah.
say A,
Okay.
based on the real life, but that is a very good, like, I'm very leaning on that one. Like I would very easily tell a white lie.
Which
to
one? The
avoid-
teller?
Yeah, I would tell them
you
that they
would.
look beautiful, even if they don't, just to not have to engage in more conversation
That's how
with
I
this
see it
person.
for you, yeah.
Like, so either one. But yeah, I would say I would err towards honesty. Like if it was like a really terrible piece of clothing, but it's like, oh, you look fine. That's something like that. Okay. Ooh, this
The
is
next
one that
one
we
is how
should-
would your friends
I
describe you, so maybe
know.
you
This
should
is
answer for
good.
me
Yeah,
and
we'll
I should answer for
each
you.
other here. So this is Dylan. So
Okay.
how would I describe you, Dylan? Steadfast and loyal to the death. You would do anything they asked of you unless it dishonored you. That sounds like you. A good friend and fun to be around, but you crack down hard on foolishness. See, that was close, but I don't think you crack down hard on foolishness.
I
If
feel like
anything,
I
it's the
am a
opposite.
very, exactly. I'm very,
If anything, you
I have a
encourage
tendency for foolishness.
Yes. Okay. C, loyal and caring, but stubborn as a mule. You can be stubborn and fixated on things, but I don't know if that makes you stubborn as a mule. D, always working for the greater good, but sometimes you step on people to get there. I don't see that for you. A risk taker and a gambler, but you always keep your promises. That sounds like someone in Wheel of Time I've heard of before.
Yeah.
And then the last one, careful of hurting others, though you are very capable of smashing right through them. Brutal. So let's see here. What would I think of you? Well,
What do you think?
so a risk taker and a gambler. Although we have gambled together, I don't see that as a defining characteristic of your personality, but you do always keep your promises. Always working for the greater good. But you see, I'm not going to choose that one. You don't step on people to get where you are. And loyal and caring you are, but stubborn as a mule? Like, you can be stubborn, but it just doesn't feel right to say you're stubborn as a mule. Cracking down hard on foolishness, definitely not. If anyone's listened to this show, they know that's not the case. And then steadfast and loyal to the death. You would do anything they ask of you unless it's dishonest. See, I would say either A or maybe this one here about being a risk taker but always keeping your promises. But I would.
What about careful of hurting others, though you're very, I feel like
that too. You feel like that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would choose
Well, no,
that one.
sorry. I don't want to influence your answer here, Charles. This is I feel like that's also like the Perrin thing
just
is like, I
never
think it's more
seen you-
physically capable of smashing through. Am I capable of smashing right through people? Like, I feel like it's Perrin.
I thought it was
It's
like, yeah, I
that's what
thought
they're
it was
getting at.
like through verbal discourse. You would use your psychology powers.
Yeah, I don't think that's what they mean. I don't think that.
But
Yeah.
see, I just, while I just never thought of you as being like, I could I'm totally capable
Me
of
neither.
smashing right
I
through
don't
this
see
guy.
it as me.
I would say you could choose between A and D. And if you really feel strongly about F, I would give it to you as well. But that's all you
No,
get.
I just realized that the smashing right through them thing, and I'm like, they mean like a physically strong person, which is not how I see myself as like You're saying steadfast and loyal to death, do anything they ask you unless it dishonored you, or a risk taker and a gambler, but you always keep your promises.
Always
are the
looking
ones
for
you're
the
picking
greater
between.
good.
Oh,
no,
greater
not that.
good.
No,
But sometimes I
not
step
that one,
on
not that one. No, loyal and caring, but no, wait, what was I going to say? It's none of these.
You were
I guess
picking between a risk taker and a gambler, but you always keep your
yes,
promises,
yes,
or steadfast and loyal to
this. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, these two.
I feel like I'm a risk taker. I mean, I don't want to convince you. That's the Matt answer.
I said you
feel
have the
like,
choice between the two. I'll give, and you can choose because
you want to let me choose.
Yeah, because I would say both A and whatever that one's. The gambler, but keeping your promises, and the steadfast.
I don't think of myself as a gambler, but I am like, I don't know. I feel I put myself out there in situations at this point in my life to try to succeed and do the things I want to do. And I feel like a defining thing me more than my honor is this like my word, like promises and things like that. You've known me a long time. Charles,
you qualify for this one. If this is the one you identify more with,
it feels the inner Matt wants that one, so I'm gonna listen to it here.
All right.
Yeah.
I agree. So I'll give that one to you. And now you're looking at me. How would you describe me as my friend? Same.
I think
answers.
I think you're there's a part of you that's down to crack down on foolishness, and you are a good friend and fun to be around. But like when it's like Yumi, I don't know if you're just surrounded by fools. Like I'm thinking of when Yumi and Derek, and that's Derek from our other lifelong friend from Roger podcast, Charles's other podcast venture with on Star Wars with our friend Derek. I'm thinking of Yumi and Derek when we hang out, and like you are the person who always has to crack down on the foolishness, but you are still fun.
Yeah.
So it's like that's kind of if it just said like, hey, like they're the no nonsense foolishness crackdowner person, then that'd be like, okay, well that's not Charles because he does have fun, but this says fun to be around too. I think you just know the time where it's like, okay, dude, like that's enough. Let's get back to the important thing.
That.
The point here.
I read crackdown hard on foolishness, and I'm just like, that's a little extreme. But I'll take it. I mean, I can see where you're coming from. If any one of the three of us is going to be the one that's going to crack down hard on foolishness, it would be me. But I just don't feel like I'm that guy that cracks down hard. Like, guys, what are you doing? Stop making so much noise. Like that kind of...
You're thinking like Nynaeve here?
Nynaeve, or there's a couple, just I'm thinking like Fail maybe. Like,
oh
or just
no,
like,
you don't line up as Fail.
No fun. What are you doing?
But that's true.
Is there anything beyond this crackdown question answer that you think would apply, or is this the one you're locking in?
I'm gonna lock it in, Charles, unless you have protests.
No,
I feel like this is who you are in our friend group, and I think Derek would agree with this. So
I will respect that. I feel like I don't like to think of myself as one that cracks down on foolishness, but I see where you're coming from, so I will allow it. All right, the next one.
Still fun, Charles.
Thank you. The next one is fight or flight. And the choices are fight, flight, or neither. I always stay away from anything where I could get hurt. Where are you?
I would flight. I would flight.
You would flight?
I'm not a fighter, but I don't think I stay away from any potentially hurting situations. But once I'm there, I'm like, I'm not going to fight this person or whatever. I'm like, get me out of here.
Yeah. See, I've never really fought anyone before, so I don't think I could. Or like, I'm not a big like confrontation guy.
I think you're a neither. Yes, exactly. You're a neither. I always stay away from anything where I could get hurt.
I'll lock in with the neither, but I could see flight too, but let's pick neither because if you're leaning that way, I will accept it. Okay, Dylan, time to pick your ideal occupation: royalty, doctor, gambler slash casino owner, warrior, or president slash prime minister.
I'm trying to become a psychologist. I'm like, well, into that path. So I'm like, none of these particularly resonate for me here.
Well,
I
PhD,
guess.
it's like being a doctor of some kind.
That's not what they mean.
I know.
They mean a medical doctor, and that does not appeal to me really at all. I think I'd rather be I'm not going to get Matt from this. I'm not going to pick gambler and stuff. So I'm like, because that's not an ideal occupation for me. I think I would rather be, with these choices, like, it's got to be royalty, doctor, or president slash prime minister.
I thought you'd pick doctor since, like, it's not necessarily a medical doctor.
Okay, I'll pick. Maybe I'm overthinking it. I'll go doctor.
I say go doctor. Or, I mean, if you wanted to pick royalty or president, I would get that too. And that's what I'm choosing between. And I'm leaning towards royalty because I don't want to be president. Like, you work really hard for 4 years and then it's like, forget it. Royalty, you don't have to do anything. Just cash them checks. So I will go with
cash them royalties.
Oh yeah, I wonder what it's called for royalty, but that's
collecting
taxes.
royalties.
So
I think it's taxes.
My ideal occupation would probably be royalty. It's hard to think of that as an occupation, but these other ones sound like work. And I'm feeling royalties like king, baby. Like, come on, that's it.
I think you're going toward Elaine with that one, though. I think Elaine's probably.
What am I supposed to pick? Warrior? Like, I'm not trying to go for any character.
I don't know if you're going to get Perrin.
Well,
I know. I'm just.
Well, spoiler alerts, I got Perrin last time to the surprise of no one on our Twitter thread. But we'll see if it comes up again. I feel like I've been answering them the same, but your influence here, So let's go to the next question. What would your ideal home be? Castle, palace, or country home?
I don't think I'd want to live in a castle. I'd rather live in a palace than a castle, probably. So then it's between that and a country. I'm big on this, like, I want to live in a log cabin one day thing
you
lately.
You were mentioning that to
Charles.
me off the air, yes.
Yes, so I feel like country home is probably the equivalent of that. So I don't think that's how people think of me, as like a country home kind of guy, but I feel like
just
that's where I'm
headed. Live in a peaceful rural place where you can just kind of take it easy, like live life out in the country. There's something romantic about that.
Yeah,
I get it.
It doesn't have to be a log cabin. It could be a more country
nature,
home type. Just like
something.
It's not. Yeah, like it's your own space and peace and solitude and like those kind of things have been appealing to me. So country home's probably better. Log cabin, I'd probably get all like annoyed trying to upkeep it, and like it's more idyllic than in my head than it probably would be in real life. So country home. Charles,
country home.
What do you pick?
All right, great pick. See, I would normally pick that one, but palace, dude. Like, definitely not castle. Although a castle would be cool. It's like, it's made of stone. It's very old.
Yeah.
It's like drafty and cold. No, it doesn't sound comfortable. But having a moat would be pretty cool and a drawbridge and stuff. That would be pretty neat. But I feel like the novelty of that would wear off very quickly when you're like, time to go to bed. And you just go up this spiral staircase way, way up. Forget it. Palace all the way. That just sounds very luxurious. And hey, if it was just gonna fall into my lap, I would choose a palace. But country home does sound very romantic as well. I would be very happy in a country home. But I'm gonna say palace for the win. The next question: does this quiz bore you? And yes, it did. No, it didn't. And then they put a your mom joke in there. So, which did this quiz bore you, Dylan?
No, it didn't.
It didn't bore me
either.
Fun. Yeah,
I mean, we're also doing it together, which is kind of like it's a lot more fun to do it while talking with your like lifelong friend than it is to just sit there poking answers. So a little bit biasing of the results, but that being said, no, it didn't.
No, it didn't. Same for me as well.
Bore me.
All right, so the next question 10. I'm just making a question filler. How many Wheel of Time books have you read? And then it gives all the options here. Dylan, you've read...
We're different on this.
We're different on this. You said 3 to 5, right? You've read 3 of them, yeah? Or 4.
Right.
We may have read 4. And then...
We've read 4.
We've read 4 on the show, but I've actually read all of them. So I'm going to mark that one. So... that is that. And then who wrote the Wheel of Time series? We both know it's Robert Jordan, but for some reason they have J.R.R. Tolkien, J.K. Rowling. Who cares? Do you want to pick who cares as an option, or should we lock it in at Robert Jordan?
Pick J.K. Rowling. For me?
You want to be J.K.? You can be J.K.
Yeah. Or actually pick Tolkien.
Tolkien?
One of those. I don't care.
All right, you'll be Tolkien.
I want to mess with the quiz a little bit.
You'll be Tolkien. I'll be JK. We'll mess with the quiz a little bit.
Oh, Charles, don't buy it. Don't. You picked Jordan. You gotta stick with that. I think because it's like now you're being silly because I'm being silly, and it's gonna mess up your. Perrin would it?
Who's cracking down on the foolishness now? It's certainly not me.
Well, I'm cracking. Okay, that's fair. Charles,
Fine,
do whatever you want. I respect you as a person, and you can pick whatever you want.
Oh,
I'm just seeing how we're biasing each other's results.
Careful of hurting others, explaining all the pros and cons, all these things that you're doing that we've discussed.
Just a good friend out here trying to send my love and respect your way, Charles, and I don't know why you need to crack down on all the foolishness that's happening here.
Got it. And it seems to be these last couple questions are quite silly. Is the author of the Wheel of Time series still alive?
Oh.
Yes, no, or the correct answer is
He is
no.
not,
He
unfortunately.
is not. So,
it's actually a very sad question.
Yes, it's unfortunate that Robert Jordan has passed. So you say no. I'll say, just to be contrarian, the correct answer is no, which is the third option. So that's just a little something different there. That's still correct.
There you go.
All right. So, Dylan, we are going to submit your answers. Do you have any pre-existing ideas of who might come up for you?
At this point, I have no idea, honestly. Let's just say, because I feel... Can I look at my answers? Just kind of scroll through them real quick, Charles.
Oh, sure.
I know this isn't great. This isn't great podcast material.
But what are you looking for here? Because you're saying you bravely run to someone's rescue. You toss some people some coins. You don't want to get caught up in some stuff.
Caught up in things.
You look at it. You'd carefully explain that there's some nobility here.
There might be some Elaine. It's going to be some Elaine, some
leaning tendencies here too.
Oh
no! You said you were a risk taker and a gambler. It's just going to tell you.
But I'm a flight. Let's say I'm going to guess I'll have some. I should have chosen Palace if I wanted Elaine, or Castle if I wanted Elaine. I'm going to say I'm going to have some Elaine and Matt because that's.
Elaine and Matt. That's who you've been gunning for here. So let's see if we can get something exciting going here. And
you gotta submit those answers.
Submitting answers. You are Matrim Coffin, 81%, which is quite high. And then look, there you are, Randall Thor as number 2, and Perrin Ibarra as number 3, the trifecta. And then Nynaeve underneath.
I got 0% Elaine.
0% Elaine. I can't wait to screenshot this and send it to Sandra.
Oh, no.
That 0% Elaine is going to be a meme for you, Dylan.
No. I should have chosen Palace. Oh, no.
Dylan, these are good answers. These are good answers.
These are not. Why is this way?
I think Matt leaning is very on brand for you. This may be a little too much, Matt. You got a little too mischievous, I think, in this one. I think I bring out more of the Matt in you than maybe your dormant self would be. But that's okay, because look, if anything, I bring out this Rand, the search, 67% Rand. That's high. And 60% Perrin. That's a good mix, dude. You're in good hands.
Have a lot of self-awareness with the... I guess I knew the Matt thing, but with the Elaine stuff, is I guess you do bring that mischievous side, because it's you're very sturdy and reliable, Charles, and then I want to poke at you and bring your silliness out. And yeah, I think I guess I have to stop pretending I'm in a lane, and I have to just admit to the world publicly on FTF that I am a Matt.
This episode has been worth it. I feel like this has been very therapeutic. We're learning things about ourselves. We're accepting things about ourselves.
Oh, God.
This 38% naive I find to be interesting, and I think that speaks more to your capability than it does her, like, strictness. I think you got, naive is a very impressive individual. She's very naturally gifted, very confident, very strong. So I can see that. Avienda as well. And then
this is like a joke. This 0% Elaine.
0% Elaine is awesome. I love that. I'm going to be using that screenshot forever.
Oh my. I regret everything that just happened. And
the quiz has spoken, Dylan. We went into this with some discrepancies about how Elaine you were, and the quiz has delivered of the 0%, resounding 0%. So,
how does it happen where it's 0%? Like,
I think what it is there was like one little blip, but it was rounds down to 0, so it shows it as 0, but there's still a piece, which is why it ranks.
No,
which is what I think what's happening here. And well, that's it, Dylan. I know you're upset, but
I'm reeling.
But I think you should be trying to find the positives here. Dude, you got Matt, Rand, and Perrin. That's like, I got Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor all together. Boo-hoo. I'm so upset.
Those are good. Yeah, I feel like those are the equivalents in order, too. Like, Matt is more Iron Man, Rand is more Captain America, and Perrin is more Thor. That's pretty accurate.
Yeah, actually, with the beard, too.
Was that, like, not even... Yes. Yeah, exactly. And Matt and Iron Man are both kind of, like, snarky. And, well, I've always thought now we're talking Avengers, but I've always thought I was more like Iron Man than those other few. And Matt.
We may have to take a Marvel personality quiz at a later date, but
that could be
to see if that translates.
I just wanted more Elaine. I get that I am very Matt, and that does make sense. And I guess if I had to really bet on who I would get, maybe I would have picked Matt, especially looking at those answers. But
yeah, we all knew.
I was not intentionally.
Matt,
I was intentionally.
We were wondering who your rising character was going to be, and I called Rand from looking at your answers, and here we are. And in typical me fashion, I'm going to crack down on all this foolish conversation about you.
You're going to get some 90s
and I'm going to submit my answers. So last time I took this, it was very strong Perrin, but I feel like you've had an effect on this quiz now, and I'm not so confident that Perrin is going to come to the top anymore. But let's submit the answers and see. We are submitting the answers. The quiz is generating. Elaine!
No! You're kidding me.
I'm 70% Elaine. Yes.
This is ridiculous.
Dylan is so mad. I can tell.
This is rigged.
That is so awesome. 0% Perrin.
No. Charles, what is going on here? Can you explain yourself that you got 0% Perrin this time when you were all Perrin last time?
It's your fault, man. There's the I guess you think of me as this peacekeeper between you and Derek, and that state of mind, it materialized Elaine into the conversation, and Perrin faded into the background. Wow, so I've got Elaine, 70% Elaine, Dylan. How does it feel that I am the one that you've aspired to be all day, and yet it's me the whole time? That's quite the twist. And then
I'm disoriented.
Nynaeve is my second. We both had strong Nynaeve showings, which I would say is a good thing. Nynaeve is a very powerful force of nature. Matrim Cawthorn as number 3. Cawthon. That's pretty impressive. We were both strong Matt showings. Yours much stronger than mine, obviously, but I like to think that we both get a little Matt-esque when the mics are hot. So. That makes sense. Egwene Elvire, also right in there at 40%, and then 34% Rand, 34% Avienda, 0% Perrin. Wow.
Are you going to have an identity crisis here, or is that only me that's going to have an identity crisis after that?
I just find it so fascinating that just by turning the mics on and having you over my shoulder as I take this, how how much my results varied. You still got Matt. Matt.
Yes. I'm consistent.
Matt persisted.
Well, the Elaine went down, but yeah.
I don't think the Elaine was ever there, Dylan. I think you have to start realizing that about yourself.
Yeah, Sandra's going to be like, no, you never actually were high on Elaine to begin with. This is even more so, but...
Yeah, so
yes,
this is pretty
like
amazing.
Exactly what happened the first time.
I'm very happy about this. What a great day this has been, guys. There's some ups and downs. There's been some dramatic twists. And we learned something about ourselves at the end of the day. And we will be sharing these results so you can take a closer look and analyze them over on the Twitter sphere at the FTF Podcast with the number 1 at the end, and on Instagram at the FTF Podcast. So you definitely want to follow up on this episode on social media. Dylan, I'm going to force him to post these and share these with the world. And guys, I mean, until next time, we did it all. This was very exciting. I had a lot of fun today, Dylan, and I wish there was more quizzes to take because that was fun.
I had fun as well until the part where I got 0% Elaine, and then the fun started to seep out of it. But I'm back. I'm very confused by your 0% Perrin. I'm also confused by your 70% Elaine. I think I don't know. It's been interesting, if nothing else.
I love it.
Thank you everyone for listening. I will eventually reach a point of
Dylan's gonna recover
around this, and I will post this. Yeah, by the time the episode airs, I'll have reached a point of acceptance to the point where I'll post this and deal with the whatever Twitter says to me getting 0% Elaine. That's
how mad of you! How mad of you! Well, this was very exciting. I think we've done it all. Nothing left but to play that sweet, sweet outro music. You know, I think Matt and Elaine doing a podcast together, that would be interesting. I'd listen to that.
Yeah. That would be very interesting, and I guess that's what we're sort of doing here.
That could be our new byline for FTF. It's like, picture Matt and Elaine doing a podcast together. You know, who wouldn't want to listen to that?
I thought that would have just been me talking to myself back like an hour ago, a simpler, more innocent time where I thought I was something like Elaine. I now realize that no,
don't worry.
You are
Dylan,
the Elaine I've always wanted to be, Charles.
I'm all the Elaine you need, Dylan. I got you. So let's go ahead and get that outro pumping, eh?
Sure, get that sweet outro music pumping before.
All right, I'll do it. Thank you all so much for listening to yet another very exciting episode of the Friends Talking Fantasy Podcast. If you like what you heard today, guys, if you want to analyze these results even further, if you want to take the quiz for yourself, check us out on social media over at the FTF Podcast with the number 1 at the end on Twitter and the FTF Podcast on Instagram. We'll be posting all that goodness there. Now, Dylan, if they want to support the show even further than following us on social media and engaging with us on social media, and they just so happen to be listening on an Apple device, what can they do?
Toss 5 stars to our podcast. It does have to be an Apple podcast, not just an Apple device for
okay.
fans out. Yes. But I'm just lashing out after these results. Toss 5 stars to our podcast. Just find that Friends Talking Fantasy page on the Apple Podcast app. Scroll down past all those episodes until you start seeing stars. Once you're seeing stars, the optimal number of stars to click in order to support the show would be 5 of them. If you got a little bit of extra time, then writing a review is super helpful for a podcast like ours, but just listening to me and Charles, lifelong friends, trying to figure out who we really are deep down. Just listening to us is more than enough. So thank you so much.
Listening, guys. That's truly incredible. Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of this extra silly episode. I hope you all learned something about each other today. And until next time, guys, go forth and conquer, friends.